Hello and welcome to the weekly Pre-Shabbat AGJC Zoom call. Each week we gather together, the Jewish communities of all 6 GCC countries and our families and friends from around the world to hear a special message before Shabbat, light candles, hear Dvar Torah, pray and read a section from the weekly Torah portion. Our speaker, Tali Gottlieb, Executive Director of this Israel Philharmonic Orchestra, will be telling us about their first performance in the Gulf. I had the honor of meeting Tali that day and attending the concert, and I hope that was the first of many performances that will take place in the Gulf, as I believe that music can build bridges. The Association of Gulf Jewish Communities is the umbrella organization for the Jewish communities of the GCC countries that are building and enhancing Jewish life in the region. While each community is independent, we share a common goal and vision for Jewish life to flourish in the Gulf for the benefit of both residents and visitors. Thank you for joining us today, and we hope you will join us next week as well. To stay updated on AGJC events, please follow us on Twitter at Gulf Jewish and visit our website, www.gulfjewish.org. On a somber note, today we commemorate International Holocaust Remembrance Day. It is a time for us to take a moment and reflect on the lives that were lost and how different this world would have been had the atrocity not taken place.
Thank you, Huda. And on that note, we're now going to head over to Alex, who's going to say the Kel Malei Rachamim.
Thank you, Ariella. Kel malei rachamim, shochein b'meromim, ha'ametzei menucha nechona, ale kanefei hashechina. ומעלות קדושים וטהורים כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים את נשמות אחינו בני ישראל הקדושים והטהורים שנפלו בידי הרוצחים ונשפך דמם באושוויץ, מיידנק, טרבלינקה ושייך מחנות ההשמדה באירופה שנהרגו, שנשחטו ושנשרפו ושנטבעו ושנחנקו על קידוש השם. בעבור שכל הקהל הקדוש הזה מתפללים ביד הזכרת נשמותם בגן עדן תהי מנוחתם לכן בעל הרחמים יסתירם בסתר כנפך לעולמים וצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתם. אדוני הוא נחלתם וינוחו על משכבותם בשלום ונאמר amen. So Ariella, before I give it to you, I would like, as it's almost Shabbat and I don't like to enter Shabbat on a negative note, so to sing a little song that you all know after the Kel Malei Rachamim. Kol od balevav penima נפש יהודי הומייה, ולפתי מזרח קדימה, עין לציון סופיה, עוד לא עבדה תקוותנו, התקווה בת שנות 2000, להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון ירושלים, להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון ירושלים.
Thank you very much, Alex. And from somber to Shabbat, which we are supposed to be happy for, we're now going to head over to Tammy, who's going to light the Shabbat candles. Tammy, if you don't mind to just unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Perfect, thank you.
See the candles? Yeah? All right.
Okay.
ברוך אתה השם, אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו להדליק נרות של שבת. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you so much. And now we'll head back to Alex for Yedid Nefesh.
ידיד נפש ורחמן, משוך עבדיך אל רצונך, ירוץ עבדיך כמו עין, ישתחווה למולדתך, ירב לו ידידותיך, מנופצו בכל עתם, אדוני ציווה עולם, נפשי חולת אהבתך, אנא אל רפנה לה, וירד לנו המזיבך, אז תתחזק ותתרפא, והייתה לה שמחת עולם, ותיק יהיה אמונה, רחמך וחוסנה לבין אהובך, כי זה כמה נחשפתי, לראות בתפארת עוזך, חמדה ליבי וחוסנה, ואל תתעלם, יגאלנה ובחוס חביבי עלי את צוקת שלומך, תאיר ארץ מכבודך, נגילה ונשמחה בך, נאחוב כי במו בכל כי מעולם תילי לי 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 תילי לי 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 תילי לי 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 לה 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 לי תילי לי 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 תילי לי 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 תילי לי 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 לי.
Thank you so much, Alex. And now we're going to head over to Denise, who's going to introduce today's speaker. Denise, would you like to unmute yourself so we could hear you?
Sorry.
Excellent.
Okay, start again. My name is Denise Esfandi, and I'm a long-standing board member of the Israel Philharmonic Orchestra Foundation UK. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Tali Gottlieb, your speaker today, who as Executive Director of the Israel Philharmonic Orchestra Foundation has played a pivotal role in raising vital support for the orchestra, both in Israel and throughout the world. Tali is a creative initiator of diverse fundraising and community outreach ventures, benefiting from a legal background. She holds a diploma in cultural management studies and also graduated from the very first class of the Middle East Leadership Initiative at the acclaimed Aspen Institute, which was established to develop community-spirited leaders in the Middle East region. So without further ado, I will hand over to Tali, who will tell you more about Israel's foremost cultural emissary, the Israel Philharmonic. Tali.
Thank you, Denise. Huda, I think when we agreed on the date being January 27th, neither you nor I realized it would be International Holocaust Day. And I don't think we could have chosen a day that would be more appropriate for the story of the Israel Philharmonic, which may begin, obviously, with a somber note, and its story goes on and on and on. But the highlight, which I would like to end with today, of course, is its performance at the in Abu Dhabi. So that's for me, as Alex so beautifully sang, is from somberness to tikva, to hope. The Israel Philharmonic was founded in 1936 by Polish violinist Bronislaw Huberman. Bronislaw Huberman was the celebrity of his days, the most well-known violinist, admired by all European communities. But Bronislaw Huberman was not only a gifted musician, he was a political activist and a visionary. And in the early 1930s, he already realized what was about to happen and realized that for him, recognizing what will happen is not enough. He is going to do something about it. He gave up all his professional engagements, all the glory in the world, and dedicated the next years to auditioning members of first chair musicians of the leading European orchestras at the time. Even he didn't know that those auditions were basically a life-saving exercise. He chose 70 musicians, 70 extraordinary musicians, and then had to somehow bring them to Palestine. He approached Ben-Gurion, asking him for special certificates to bring them to Israel, to Palestine. But Ben-Gurion was not forthcoming. For him, those certificates were reserved for people who would be able to work the land and build buildings. What is Palestine going to benefit from musicians? Huberman didn't give up and went on to his great friend, Albert Einstein, and his other great friend, Chaim Weizmann. Together, the power trio approached the British commissioner at the time and managed to obtain special certificates that served the musicians and them alone. Huberman again didn't stop and said, I'm not only bringing the musicians, but I'm also bringing their families. The stories are incredible because only once the musicians came to Palestine did they realize what a gift Huberman had given them. There is a story of one cellist who, when realizing this, simply ran away from the orchestra to a kibbutz in order to force Huberman to identify another cellist and save the life of an additional family. In 1948, when Israel was declared, the Israel Philharmonic, the then named Palestine Symphony, changed its name to the Israel Philharmonic and played Hatikva in the Tel Aviv Museum where Israel was declared. It later went on to accompany Israel in every way. It played during wars in the forefront. It played in countries where diplomatic relations were first established. And one of the stories which I'd like to share with you today is the first concert which the orchestra played in Germany. For the musicians, it was not an easy decision to make. Should we play in Germany, or maybe we should not even go there? Initially, when the orchestra was first established, the language spoken was not Hebrew, but German among the musicians. They decided to go. One of the stories that I heard, which was so moving for me, from today, a former violist, she went on this trip and sat in one of the pubs together with another violist, much older than her. He then told her, did you know that it was in one of these beer cellars that Hitler first initiated the Nazi party? Rachel, whose family was completely annihilated in the Holocaust, then went to our music director, Zubin Mehta, and said, I cannot perform tomorrow. And she was not the only one. But the orchestra performed, and the German audience stood up, demanding an encore. As you know, encores are usually classical music pieces. But Zubin Mehta made an on-the-spot decision and said, our encore today will be Hatikva. And Hatikva was played in Germany, very close to where former camp works had been. For me, these are the stories that demonstrate the uniqueness of the Israel Philharmonic. It continues to tour the world, as Denise mentioned, as Israel's foremost cultural emissary, demonstrating, I believe, among the most beautiful faces of our country. Its first tour was to Egypt in the 1940s, and I recently wrote something about the orchestra's tours and found in a very old program the sentence, we performed in Egypt in an effort to blend in the Middle East. I think this brings us directly to our concert recently held in Abu Dhabi. What a privilege to once again be able to dream of blending, playing in the Middle East. Zubin Mehta, our former music director, today the orchestra is led by an amazing pianist and conductor who is first and foremost Israeli, by the name of Lahav Shani. And I always think to myself how proud Bronislav Huberman would have been to have Lahav Shani, a Sabra, conduct the Israel Philharmonic, something he could not have dreamed of, obviously, in the 1930s. So Zubin Mehta's dream was to have an Arab musician in the Israel Philharmonic. And this dream has not yet been fulfilled, but I'm sure it will be. And we are committed to doing whatever we can to contribute to this happening. The orchestra's performance in Abu Dhabi was for everyone, the musicians, the staff, and the supporters who joined us. Among them was Denise, a dream come true. We have been dreaming about this for years, and we thank the community and the Ministry of Culture for having given us this unbelievable opportunity. Lahav Shani opened the concert by telling the story of the founding of the orchestra, and I believe that that was a very meaningful and poignant element with the most beautiful music that followed. We wholeheartedly believe in the incredible and singular power of the universal language of music to build bridges, create connections, and do what words simply cannot. After each concert of the Israel Philharmonic in any country, the ambassador usually approaches one of us and says, what you have done diplomatically in one concert would have taken me as an ambassador at least 2 years. So it is my hope that together we will be able to leverage the power of music, the story of the Israel Philharmonic, and your amazing Jewish community, and take this message forward to beautiful and meaningful places. If anybody has any questions, I would, of course, be more than happy to answer.
Wow, thank you so much, Tali. And for those of us who didn't have the chance to be there, I think from all the people who were there, we feel like we were there with you guys in spirit and recognizing what a milestone moment it was. So thank you for joining us today and for sharing with us about some of the kind of behind the scenes parts of it. So thank you.
The questions, do we have any plans of coming to Bahrain? I can tell you that if we'll be invited, we'll come very quickly.
Excellent. Excellent. So I'm sure you and Huda will be in touch, and we will we'll head over to Rabbi Sarna, who's going to share a few words of Divrei Torah with us.
Well, thank you very, very much. It's so inspiring to hear your words, Tali, and thank you, Huda and Ariella, and what a day. Yesterday evening, I was at the United Nations headquarters with the Yad Vashem for a dinner commemorating International Holocaust Remembrance Day. And as you walk into the UN headquarters right now, on your left, you'll see an exhibit that Yad Vashem has put up, which is called the Book of Names. And what they've done is that they've actually published on this, you could call it a book, but it's so many pages, the names of 4.8 million people who so far Yad Vashem has been able to record, who passed away, who were killed during the Holocaust. And it's very dramatic because it's not just a book you can pick up. It's an art installation. And what's happening is, as people walk into the UN now, there are people who are just, as they walk in, taking a left, walking through the exhibit, actually looking for names, and it serves as a kind of commemoration, really never to forget. And then again today, there's going to be an event in the hall where the General Assembly typically takes place. And amidst all this, I was struck by it because just last week I was in Germany, and I went to the Jewish Museum, and there in one of the rooms, they have an installation which looks similar in design, but is different in content. And what they have is, instead of sheets of paper hanging down full of names, what they have is, by date, all of the anti-Semitic legislation and regulations that were passed in the country from the 1930s through the 1940s. Literally, it's like every day another kind of law or regulation. And I was thinking about this because in the Torah portions that we're reading now, you have not a Holocaust per se, but the enslavement of the Jewish people, which the Jewish people were at one point really celebrated in Egypt, and then over a course of years become enslaved, and ultimately there are edicts of murder which are instituted. And the question that I always had was, how could this happen? How could this happen in a society where previously Joseph had been the viceroy? And the one of the most powerful lines for me in the opening of the book of Exodus, which then becomes undone in this week's Torah portion, is the phenomenon of political amnesia. How easy it is just to pretend like you forgot. A new Pharaoh arises who did not know Joseph, and then when he's confronted by Moses, he says, you mentioned the name of your God. I don't know who you're talking about. Amnesia. We forget. We don't know who those people are. Interestingly, in Germany, when I was at another museum, the tour guide had said to us that after World War II, one of the most common phrases was among Germans was we didn't know, we don't know, there was no way for us to know. How convenient sometimes amnesia could be, just not remembering. And so the purpose in many ways of all the plagues that came was for God to send the message, let us identify ourselves. I will show you who I am. I will show you who we are. And perhaps one of the most dramatic things is as the Israelites leave Egypt, they come out with Joseph's bones, as if to say, that is the person who you did not forget. Well, guess what? He is our ancestor. He is our forefather. He's the anchor of our identity. Remembrance is the opposite of forgetfulness. And so both as we're reading this week's Torah portion and on this Holocaust Remembrance Day, that in so many ways is what this is about. We have to remember, we cannot allow ourselves in many different domains of life just to say, I don't know, I don't remember, but instead we will remind ourselves of what is important, what our past is, and ultimately where we are headed. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Sarna, for those inspiring words as we head into Shabbat. And now back to Alex for Parsha reading.
ויאמר אדוני אל משה ואל אהרון בארץ מצרים לאמור, החודש הזה לכם ראש חודשים, ראשון הוא לכם לחודשי השנה, דברו אל כל עדת ישראל לאמור בעשר לחודש הזה, ויקחו להם איש צא לבית אבות צא לבית, ועם אימת הבית מיות מסב לקחו, ושכנו הקרוב אל ביתו במכנס נפשות, איש לפי אוכלו תחוסו על עשה, שא תמים זכר בן שנה יהיה לכם, מן הכבשים ומן העזים תיקחו, והיה לכם למשמרת 14 יום לחודש הזה, ושחטו אותו כל קהל עדת ישראל בין 40, ולקחו מן הדם ונתנו על שתי המזוזות ועל המשקוף, על הבתים אשר יאכלו אותו בהם, ואכלו את הבשר בלילה הזה, צלי אש ומצות על מרורים יאכלו, אל תאכלו ממנו נע ובשל מבושל במים, כי אם צלי אש ראשו על קרב על קרבו, ולא תתרו ממנו עד בוקר, ונותר ממנו עד בוקר באש תשרפו.
Thank you. And now over to Talia for the English translation.
Hashem said to Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, this month shall mark for you the beginning of the month. It shall be the first of the months of the year for you. Speak to the community leadership of Israel and say that on the 10th of this month, each of them shall take a lamb to a family, a lamb to a household. But if the household is too small for a lamb, let it share one with the neighbor who dwells nearby. In proportion to the number of persons, you shall contribute for the lamb according to what each household will eat. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a yearling male. You may take it from the sheep or from the goats. You shall keep watch over it until the 14th day of this month, and all the assembled congregation of the Israelites shall slaughter it at twilight. They shall take some of the blood and put it on 2 doorsteps and the lintel of the houses in which they are to eat it. They shall eat the flesh that same night. They shall eat it roasted over the fire with unleavened bread and with bitter herbs. Do not eat any of it raw or cooked in any way with water, but roasted, head, legs, and entrails over the fire. You shall not leave any of it over until morning. If any of it is left until the morning, you shall burn it.
Thank you so much. And now we're going to head to Justin, who's going to share the prayer for peace. Justin, if you want to just unmute.
Sorry about that. It's wonderful to see you all. Thank you for inviting me to give the prayer. Prayer for peace. Lord of peace, divine ruler, to whom peace belongs, master of peace, creator of all things, may it be your will to put an end to war and bloodshed on earth, and to spread a great and wonderful peace over the whole world. Help us and save us all, and let us cling tightly to the virtue of peace. Let there be a truly great peace between every person and their fellow, and let there be no discord between people, even in their hearts. Let us never shame any other person on earth, great or small. May it be granted unto us to fulfill thy commandment, to love thy neighbor as thyself. With all our hearts and souls and bodies and possessions, God who is peace, bless us with peace.
Thank you so much, Justin. It's so great to have you back on our Zooms, and hopefully you'll join us again soon. And now over to Yael, who's going to read the prayer for the GCC.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for inviting me, especially in this day, that is the Holocaust Memorial Day, the national one. I will read. May he who gives salvation to kings and domination to princes, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, who delivers his servant David from the evil sword, who makes a way in the sea and a path through him, the mighty waters, bless and protect, guard and help, exalt, magnify, and uplift. His Majesty, the King of Saudi Arabia, His Majesty, the King of Bahrain, His Majesty, the Sultan of Oman, His Excellency, the President of the UAE, His Excellency, the Emir of Kuwait, His Excellency, or His Highness, the Emir of Qatar, and all their crown princes. And may the Supreme King of Kings, in His mercy, put the spirit of wisdom and understanding into their hearts and the hearts of all of their counselors and officials to deal kindly with us, the house of Jacob and all the people of this land. Be their shelter and stronghold, and let them not falter. In their days and in ours, may these lands be blessed with stability, prosperity, and peace. May this be His will, and let us say Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. And now, before we head to Alex, who's going to lead us out with Shalom Aleichem, a quick announcement. Please join us back here next week. The same link, we'll send an email, obviously. I know some people didn't get it this week, but we are going to have a different time. We're going to push it back by 30 minutes, no matter which time zone you're in. So hopefully our friends in the States can get a little extra sleep in the morning. 30 minutes later. And now we'll head over to Alex for Shalom Aleichem.
Thank you. And what a nice way to start Shabbat with nice people like Yael and Justin, who both are real friends for our community. So thank you so much for being here this evening. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Yasharet, Malachei Yomi Melech, Malchei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Melech, Malchei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bachoni leShalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Melech, Malchei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem leShalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech, Malchei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, everyone.